Okay, can you share my screen as well? Yeah, thank you. And can you make it full screen, please? Thank you. Okay, then. Good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Am I audible, everyone? Good evening, guys. Good evening. Good evening, Navi. Good evening, Harsh. Utpal, Santosh, Sudeep. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Am I audible? Am I visible? Please confirm that, guys. Okay, then. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, guys. Good evening once again. And I welcome you all to this third and last day of JavaScript Essentials. It's only of 3 days, Santosh. It's only of 3 days. It's only of 3 days. So in the last 2 days, we have learned quite a lot of things. Not exactly a lot of JavaScript, but at least a lot of basics, right? So we have learned what exactly is JavaScript, how it works, what are variables, what are conditions, what are operators. We also saw what are functions. We understood the difference between let, var, and const. So till now, we have done that much things, right? Okay, I can see a lot of people are saying there was some problem with submitting the assignment. Okay, don't worry, guys. I think Anshul, if you can take care of that, please, buddy. Don't worry, guys. I've asked the moderator to take care of that assignment link if there is any problem. So, what's the problem actually? Can you guys tell me what's the problem in submitting the assignment? Because I can see when we click on it, it goes in my programs, and I think somewhere there only you have to perform submission. Okay, I think, yeah, there is some problem with the link. Maybe I can see that it's looking a little blurred, right? Right, guys? I think for you also it's looking blurred, maybe, because I can also see the same thing. Okay, so don't worry. What I'll do is I'll ask the moderator to check it once. Okay, fine, fine. So, guys, whoever is facing the problem in submitting the assignment, guys, don't worry. I've asked the moderator to check the link. He will check the link. He will check the what is the problem, and he will solve it immediately. Okay, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Okay, because that assignment submission will mostly not hamper your certificate. The most important thing here is you mark 3 days attendance. But again, assignment submission is important. So if I think it's some problem from our sides, so what we're going to do is we'll solve that problem. I have asked the moderator, he will try to solve it. Okay, so don't worry, guys. Okay, so first of all, guys, welcome back to the third day of JavaScript Essential. And today, as planned, we are going to learn quite few things about DOM manipulation as well. Okay, let me increase the size. Okay, I hope this much is fine. Okay, I hope this much is fine. Sir, if the text is too small to see, make it highlighted assignment submission text above mark. Okay, fine. Definitely, I'll do that. Incredible for you, definitely. Hi, Naveen. Hi, Harsh. Hi, just human being. Okay. So, guys, first of all, tell me, are we excited for today's session, everyone? Alpha Xerox, see, we had 2 sessions before this. So, what we planned for today was DOM manipulation, and we only have 1 hour. So, I'm really sorry, buddy. I don't think so. I'll be able to revise the whole thing. But again, if you watch the today's session, you can still, understand most of the things. But don't worry, because the recordings of previous sessions are already on this channel. Just click on the channel link and you will go to the channel. There you will find day 1 and day 2 video of JavaScript Essential as well. Okay, Alpha Xerox. So don't worry, buddy. Just click on the channel and day 1 and day 2 videos are there. This is day 3 video. So you can watch those videos and then again you can watch this video. Okay. So, yep, guys, let's go, everyone. Let's start with today's session as we are starting with something called as DOM manipulation using JavaScript. As I told you, initially, this is why JavaScript was created. Okay. So, let's get back a little, guys. Let's get back a little and let's try to understand what we have learned so far. Not exactly according to programming, but generally. So, on the first day, we learned that JavaScript is a general purpose programming language, right? This is what we learned initially. That means it is used in web development, web designing, right? It is used in server side APIs. It is also used for game development, right? It is also used for desktop application development. It is also used for mobile app development. So almost everywhere it is used. This is what we have learned so far. But I told you that initially when it was created, JavaScript language in the 90s, when it was created, it was only created to work with the web. It was only created to work with HTML and CSS. Right? This is what we have learned, that when it was created, it was only created to work with HTML and CSS. All these things came after 2009, because in 2009, Randall discovered Node.js, or created, not exactly discovered. I'm so sorry, discovered is not the word. Created Node.js. Okay, that means a running environment for JavaScript, which you can install in your PC and run it anywhere. Run JavaScript anywhere without depending on any other technology. So now you can go ahead and create server-side APIs, games, desktop apps, mobile apps, whatever you want. But before all that, JavaScript was only working for web, and it was only running inside the browser. Browser was the only running environment, and that's why it was only working with HTML and CSS. And guys, it's not like it was only working inside the browser. It was created to work inside the browser. If they wanted, they would have created a separate programming language that runs everywhere. But at that time, there were other languages. There was C, there was C sharp, there were a lot of programming languages. So they wanted to create a programming language which will have all the programming features like loops, arrays, conditions, variables, but still can work with HTML and CSS. Okay, so this is what we have learned so far already, and we saw all the basic programming things. Okay, and basically the reason they wanted a language to work with HTML and CSS was, by using HTML and CSS, you can only create a static web page which has contents created by HTML, and by using CSS, you can apply style on it. But it's a static page. That means everything is just fixed like a newspaper or a magazine. If people want to interact, like they want to click and something should happen, they want to hover and something should happen, they want to fill up forms, they want to do a lot of stuff, that was only made possible by using JavaScript. Basically, it was there to provide interactivity to the web pages created using HTML and CSS. So far, we have learned how to run JS in browser, right? We have also learned some basic programming constructs of JS. And now we are ready to learn how to work with HTML and CSS using JavaScript. And then after that, guys, in future, you can also install Node.js, and then you can go ahead with server-side APIs, game dev, desktop app, mobile app, whatever you like, because the language will be same. Few things may change, but the language basic concepts will be always same. Okay, so we have learned how to run JS in browser. We have learned some basic programming constructs of JavaScript, and now we are ready to learn how to use JavaScript to work with HTML and CSS in reality. How to make our web page created by HTML and CSS interactive by using JavaScript. So I really hope, guys, that you're excited. Let's start and let's go. Now, before we start, we have to understand few things. Before we start with JavaScript with HTML and CSS, we have to understand few things. Okay, so let's say this is a normal HTML page which is containing something like, let's say, a p tag which has like hello, an h1 tag which has like let's upgrade, and let's say I might also have a div. You're gonna have an image or whatever you want, like it's up to you. Div, inside that div you might have an image tag. Okay, all that stuff. So let's say this is your basic HTML page. Okay. Now, guys, see, let's try to understand a little bit about how this HTML page is executed in your browser. Okay. And for that, let me just remove all these extra tags that we don't need right now. Let's say this is my very basic HTML page. Now, what exactly happens when you run this web page on the browser? So if I copy the path and go inside a browser, so let me take a browser window. And here we go. So it produces a very simple output. But we are not interested in output as of now. We want to understand how does the browser understand that it has to read this code and generate an output that looks like this. How does the browser understand? So guys, let's see how it happens. So please try to understand now. So let me open a Jamboard. Now guys, whenever you run your HTML code in your browser, the first thing that the browser does is converts your code into a tree, converts your HTML document into a tree, or you can say reads your HTML document like a tree. For example, if you read this code, try to understand. The first tag that you have here is HTML, which is ending at the very end. That means I can say that HTML is the top level parent. See, guys, whatever is containing becomes parent, and whatever is inside becomes child. That's the base logic. So HTML can be considered as a parent. Inside HTML, you have head and you have body. So if you go like this, if you read it like this, let's say HTML, it goes like this: HTML. Inside HTML, you have head and you have body. So head and body have the same parent, which is HTML. So they can be called as siblings because they share the same parent. Inside head, you have title tag, and inside body, I created a p tag and all that stuff. So if you read this HTML code, you can easily convert it to a tree, which goes like this. For example, let's get back to our normal code that we had here already. If you read this code, it can be converted to a tree like this. On top, we have HTML. Inside HTML, we have head, and then we have body, right? Inside head, we have title, and in future there are some more things that can come there. And inside body, I had a P, I had a H1, and I also had a div. And inside div, you can see inside body, I have a P, an H1, and a div. And inside div, I have an image. So now, if you try to understand it like a tree, the tree is going like this. Inside HTML, you have head and body. In head, you have title. In body, you have P, H1, and div. And inside div, you have image. And just like that, if you keep adding elements, your tree will keep growing. So when you run your HTML code on the browser perceives your HTML code as a tree, or you can say it converts it into a tree, and then understands this tree or reads this tree and generates the output like this for you. By reading this tree only, it understands where a particular element will go and how it will look like. Is that clear, everyone? Understood how your HTML code is executed on the browser, guys? Please tell me. Yes, you can say your tags can be considered as branches or nodes, whatever you'd like to call them. Branches or nodes or elements. So when you're writing it, we call them tags. In the tree, we call them objects. In the tree, guys, we call them objects. And on the browser, when we see the output, we call them elements. So they are one and the same thing. It's just while writing, we consider them as tag. In the tree, we call them as object. And on the output, we call them as elements because that's much more understandable. Okay. And guys, this tree here is what you call as DOM, document object model. Is that clear, everyone? So this tree is generated, and this based on this tree only, your output is created. Okay. And this, guys, one more thing. Internally, this whole tree is stored in an object. So this whole tree with HTML till the end is stored in an object called as document. Okay. So this is the high level parent. Like above document also there are a few more things, but you can just think that this whole tree is stored in an object called as document. Okay. Don't forget that. And that document object can be accessed in JavaScript. And by using that object, I can access this whole tree. Yes, you can say every element in the tree can be considered as an object, Naveen. Yes, it's a tag, but it's also an element. It's also an object or a node or a branch. Depends on what perspective you're looking at it. Okay. So guys, as I'm saying, that this whole tree is stored in an object called as document. And now it's a JavaScript object. Document is a JavaScript object. That means in JavaScript, we can access this whole tree via this document object because this whole tree is stored inside that. That means, guys, what I can do, I can go ahead and use this document object and access any object or any element by using JavaScript. By using JavaScript, through this document object, I can access this HTML element or the object. I can access the body element, the P element, H1 element or the div element, and I can manipulate it. If I want, I can remove that element from the tree. If I want, I can add a new element in the tree. If I want, I can access this div using JavaScript, and I can change its color. I can change its size. I can change its text. I can change whatever I want. And whatever I do will be visible on the browser. And guys, that is what is happening here as well. Let me show you. When you click on this button, you know what happens? Internally, when I click on this button, a code is written. In that code, using the document object, this image is accessed. And as soon as I click on this, that image is manipulated. Its margin is changed. And that's why it slides like this. Okay, its CSS is changed. There is some block which is not visible. But as soon as I click on the login button, that's visible. What's happening here? This element was not visible initially. That means it was not in the tree. But as soon as I click on this button, that element has been added into the tree dynamically. That means no one is going in the code and changing it. This code is read by the browser and a tree is generated. Now, JavaScript has the power that it can directly manipulate that tree. It can change elements in that tree. It can remove element. It can add element. It can delete element. It can manipulate, change color, change size, add, remove, whatever you want. All that can be done via JavaScript. Now, remember, guys, JavaScript is not updating your code. Your code will be only static. You write your code, you run it on browser, and that's it. Now, inside the browser, a tree is there. And JavaScript can be used to manipulate that tree. But you're only manipulating that tree. Nothing will happen to your code. Your code only was used for the first time to generate the base tree. After that, JavaScript can manipulate that whole tree. So no one is going to change your code. Code will be like that only. And that is why, because you're not touching the code, you're directly manipulating the tree in the browser. That's why whatever is happening here will happen dynamically. Right? Will happen dynamically. That means when I click on this, no one is going and changing some code in behind. It's all happening dynamically. Is that clear, guys? JavaScript is going. First time this site is loaded, a tree is generated. As soon as I click, tree gets manipulated. As soon as I click, tree is manipulated. No one is sitting and going and changing the code. Oh, new image should appear. No. Everything is happening dynamically. That's why I can see everything on the go without refreshing my page. Normally, we know, right? If I go ahead and change something in code, I have to refresh my page to see. I have to reload my page. If I go and change something in the code of HTML, I have to refresh my page. But we are not doing that. We are not manipulating the HTML code, guys. We are simply manipulating the tree, and that's why everything happens on the go dynamically. Okay? And that is what we use to make our website interactive, so that people can click here and there and things will move, things will change, their color will change, their size will change, and your website will become interactive and more fun. Is there a security issue? I don't think so, because it is created for this, Naveen. It is created for this. For security issues. See, first of all, I don't think so DOM manipulation has any security issues, because first of all, it completely happens in the client browser. And that means in your browser. So even if you do something or change something, it's completely possible. Like I can also go ahead and, remove this image from Flipkart. But when I do this, I'm not removing this image actually from Flipkart. If I reload the page, it will come back again. So there is no security issues. Getting it, Naveen? So because whatever is happening, whatever DOM manipulation you do, whatever HTML, CSS, these three things are always in your client machine. They load for one time, but after that, they're in your client machine. So whatever you do is only changing for you. Once you refresh, everything will get reloaded back, reset back. So no security issues. No, you don't have to activate JS in your browser, Naveen. JS is always activated in the browser. Every browser in this world supports JavaScript by default. I think only Internet Explorer doesn't support. Maybe. Because whenever you run JavaScript, they ask you, there's a blocked content. Do you want to run it? Because they have some issues with JavaScript, because they had their own version of JavaScript called as JScript in the very initial times. Now that is deprecated. Now everyone uses JavaScript. So guys, have we understood what exactly DOM manipulation is and what it will do? So all these things are examples of DOM manipulation, everyone. Everything here that is going on, this interactivity, all these things is an example of DOM manipulation. Okay, everything that is happening here is an example of DOM manipulation. Every element that is changing. So guys, are we ready? Can we start, everyone? Okay, cool. So I hope you have understood DOM. Now then, let's go Now, the first thing that I'm going to teach you is not the DOM manipulation. See, guys, now a lot of people find JavaScript tough because they are unable to understand DOM manipulation. But if you follow a trick that I'm going to tell you, DOM manipulation will be never tough for you. Like, never ever. Just follow some basic tricks. Okay. And now, guys, see, DOM manipulation is a vast topic. So I cannot cover everything in the 45 minutes, that the next 45 minutes that I'm going to teach you. So please focus. I'm going to give you all the basics, and we'll also create some assignments. But after that, you have to build on top of that. You have to learn more from that particular thing. Okay. So I hope you'll do that, because in 45 minutes, it's not possible to cover the home DOM manipulation, but I'll give you all the fundamentals that you need. Okay. So let's go, guys. Let's start. Now, see. Now, let's say you have an element like, a div, and something like, let's say I give it a class of 1. Okay. And let's apply some CSS to it. So style dot 1, height 200 pixels. And let me just remove this. Yeah. Okay. Width 200 pixels. And background color, let's say red for now. So we have this div. Now, if we go in the browser, you can see the output. A simple div. That's nothing. That's very simple logic. Okay. Now, guys, the first thing that we want to learn is how to handle user interaction. See, all the things moving, going here and there, appearing, and all that stuff is secondary. All that stuff is secondary. The first thing that we want to learn is how to understand what user is doing. So the next thing that we are going to learn, the most important thing here, is something called as event handling. After that, we'll move ahead to DOM manipulation. But guys, event handling is also a part of DOM manipulation only. But let's try to understand what exactly is event handling. So guys, for that, first of all, we have to understand what's an event. Now see, guys, whenever a user performs, now I'm giving you a very basic example, but events are also without user as well. But for now, let's say event is nothing but whenever a user performs any kind of interaction on the web page. For example, hover. So when I go on something, that's an event. Click, it's an event. Click, it's an event. Double click is an event. In mobile phones, guys, sometimes right, you long press something to get options. So that long press is an event. So any kind of interactions, see, scroll, it's also an event. So any kind of interaction that you perform on the application is considered as an event. Okay, even if I click somewhere normally, that's also an event. Okay, so that is what is an event, guys. So now when I'm clicking on this button, guys, something is happening. So what's happening here is my web page is understanding what event I'm doing. I'm doing a click event. I'm clicking on this button. Somewhere a code is written. Somewhere a code is written that when the user clicks on this button, when the user performs an event, click event on this button, move this image. So that code is written somewhere. That means, first of all, what we have to learn is how to understand the user event. And then after that, how to do something based on that. Okay. So guys, event is nothing but whatever a user performs on the web page. Yes, you can say that an action that is performed by user, but sometimes it's not always users. Sometimes some actions are performed on time basis as well. So not all the actions are performed by user. There are some actions that are also performed internally, and they are also called as events only. Okay. So just to give you an example, I showed you all these things. Okay. Click, double click, scroll, move, slide, whatever you can do with your keyboard. Like, when you go ahead and write HJ, you're also performing an event. So whatever interaction you're performing with the web page is basically an event. Is that clear, everyone? I hope you're understanding. Okay, cool. So now, event handling concept. So now we have to learn event handling. Now we know what is an event, but we want to learn event handling. That means whenever user performs the event, what am I going to do? Like if a user clicks on a button, what should I do and how to do that? So event handling has 3 parts. First, the event itself. Second, the event handler. That means what kind of event was performed and on what element. because user may perform event anywhere. It can be a button, it can be an image, it can be a div, it can be a scroll. User may perform any event. So the first thing that is important is event. Second is event handler, which is nothing but the kind of event that you performed and on what element you performed the event. That. And the third thing that is very important is event listener. So if I have to explain this all to you, event is nothing but whatever you perform, whatever action is performed by user or by internally, whatever action is performed, that is basically an event. Okay, event handler is basically type of the event and the element where it was performed. And finally, whenever an event is performed on an event handler, what to do? So on that, basically, a event listener is called, which is sitting behind and waiting. As soon as you click on that button, whatever code is with me, I'll run that. So event handler is nothing but, guys, a function waiting to be executed for the event. As soon as the event gets called, I'll be performed. That's why I call as event listener. So it's like this. There is a button. That button is your event handler. And a click event will be performed on that. And as soon as someone clicks on that, you have connected a function with that. That function is an event listener. So as soon as someone clicks on that button, that function's code will be called. Now, whatever you write there, you can write a simple console.log. You can write code of movement of image. You can write code of appearing a block. Whatever code you write, that will be executed. That function that is waiting for that event to get called, that's what you call as event listener. So these three are the most important components of an event: event itself, event handler, event listener. Okay, so I hope, guys, you have understood all these three basic things. Now don't worry, let me show you this practically. Okay, so let's say we have a very simple button. As of now, let's say we have a very simple button. So let's create a simple button here, button, and let's just right click on that. Okay, now I want to perform a very basic event. What I want to do is, as soon as I click on this button, I want to log hello in the console. Now, guys, try to understand. Please, everyone, focus. As soon as I click on this button, I want to perform hello in this console. That means I have the event handler, button. Button is my event handler. But now I want to perform a click event on that, and I want to print hello in the console. That means my task is to print hello in the console based on a click event on the button. So how to do all this stuff? Now, guys, let's focus on one very important point. Whatever you want to do on a element, whether you want to change its color, whether you want to perform an event, whether you want to change its size, whether you want to change content, whether you want to move it, whatever you want to do with an element, either it's an image or a div or a button, the first thing that you need to learn is how to select that particular element. Because see, normally, guys, in CSS also, when you want to apply CSS on an element, the first thing you learn is how to select that element, right? For example, by using class name, by using tag name, by using ID, you select that element and then you apply CSS. And this CSS is applied on that particular element. Just like that, if you want to do anything on any element, whether you want to apply an event or whether you want to change its color or shape or size, whatever you want to do, you have to first select that element, target that element. So, guys, whenever you're planning to perform event handling or DOM manipulation on any element, the first thing that you need to learn is how to select that element. So let's go and let's see that. So first of all, guys, as I said, this whole tree, this whole HTML tree is stored inside the object called as document. So we will use this JavaScript object to access my button. Now I know that inside my body, I have a button element, right, everyone? Inside my body, you can see this button element is inside the body. So I want to access this button element. I want to target this button element because I want to apply an event on that. So how to do it? Very simple. The first thing that you're going to be using is, let's go ahead and let's start our script. Okay. The first thing that you need here is the document object. Let me show you what it has. Let me show you what it has. If I console.log it, you can see what this document object actually means. So console.log, let's print this document object and let's see what's going on here. Print it. You can see that this document object is nothing but your whole tree. See that, everyone? Guys, now that means this document object is giving me this whole tree, and from that whole tree I want to target this button element. I want to work on this button element. This is I want to work on. So I need to fetch that button element first. I need to select that button element. So to do that, you can do document dot. Now guys, there are various ways of doing it, but I'm showing you one very simple way, that you can go ahead and give this button an ID. Let's call it as BTN. And then now you can select this button using its ID, which is one of the most common ways of targeting any element. So document dot, there's a function called as get element by ID. And then inside that, pass the ID of the element that you want to select. And I want to select BTN. Now let me show you that when I write this code, this particular line of code, document.getElementById by ID BTN, will select this button for me. Let me show you that. Save it and now refresh. And see that, guys? I printed this line and this line is giving me that button. Understood, everyone? Guys, and just like that, you can fetch any element. For example, I can give this div an ID of 1. And if I want to work on this div, first I need to select this div. And to select that div, you have to simply do what, guys? Document dot get element by ID. And what is the ID of that div? 1. So we will just pass 1 in here. And now you can see that div is getting selected. See that? That whole div is getting selected. And when I hover on it, it's also highlighting it. So I'm clear that, okay, we are selecting that div. So guys, that's how you can select any element that you want to work with. So remember, guys, whenever you want to perform DOM manipulation, that basically means whenever you want to manipulate an element or whenever you want to apply event on an element, the first thing that you need to know is how to select the element. Then after that, whatever you want to do is secondary. First, select the element. That's the first rule. And there are various ways of selecting an element, but I showed you one way, that is by using the ID. Give ID to an element and then fetch it based on ID. Now then, let's remove all this. Now guys, what was my task on the button? My task was when I click on this button, I want to print hello in the console. That was my task. So I'll create a function now. Function, let's say print message. And the task is console.log hello. Other ways are get elements by class name, get elements by tag name, get elements by name. But we are not doing that right now because we don't have that much time. Otherwise, the whole session will be only for selecting elements. So this is one of the most common ways, but you can also explore the other ways now. I've shown you, I've given you the names. Get elements by class name, get elements by tag name. All that is there. Okay. So now guys, see, this is my task, but you know that a function is not called automatically, right? It's not called automatically. So I know I can call it like this. I can just go ahead and call it like this, print message, and then it will work. But we don't want to do it in this way. I don't want this function to be called directly. I want this function to be called when I click on this button. How to do that? Now here's the main thing, guys. You have the task function you have. Okay, this function is going to print hello in the console. So I have that function first. Secondly, I have also selected the button. Cool. Now the only thing that I need to learn is how to make sure that this function is only called when this button that you have selected is clicked. So to do that, guys, we had to add an event on this button. And to add an event, it's very simple. Just go ahead and do dot add event listener. There is a function called as add event listener. So whenever you want to add an event on any particular element, select that element, then dot add event listener. Inside this, pass two parameters. First parameter is what is the event. Now there are various events. If you write, so the first is click, but there are various events available. See, abort, animation cancel, blur, can play, change, click, double click, everything is there. See, double click, drag, drag end, drag enter. A lot of things are there. Okay, but we just want to perform click. And then here, as a second parameter, you just have to pass your function. So whatever is a function name, pass it here without any parameters, guys. Sorry, without using your brackets, just you can pass it. That's all. That's all you have to do, guys. Let me just move it in the second line so that you can see everything. So you have a function, you have selected the button, and on the button, you're adding an event. You're saying, I'm adding a click event. That means now user can click on this. And when someone clicks on this, call this function. So now in this case, guys, my button becomes event handler. It is having a click event applied on it. Whenever I click, I'll perform an event. And this function becomes event listener, which will be called when I click on the button. Now then, guys, time to test it. Save this code and refresh. And let's test it, everyone. Click, and here we go. Click, 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 and it will keep printing hello. So, guys, you have done your first event handling here. Is that clear, guys? Everyone, please tell me. Understood the base idea of event handling? Now, guys, see, there is one more shortcut way of doing it. But first of all, tell me, are you cleared? Because this is, I think, according to me, the most important, like the perfect way of adding event listener. But there are many more ways. There are some more ways as well. Like there is one way by which, you don't have to write this much. You can directly go on your button and you can use a on click attribute like this. But I would not suggest you to use it because you don't want to mix up your HTML and JavaScript, because in future when you start working with some frameworks, at that time some things might create few problems. But again, guys, it's not a wrong way. I'm not saying that it's a wrong way. You can also use it. So either you add an event like this, which is according to me the best way, but you can also do this. You can use on click attribute and pass this function here as well. That's also one more way. That's also one more way, like this. Same thing. But by doing in this way, guys, it gives you more control, because in future now, if you want to remove the event, that's also something you can do. Like it becomes much more understandable overall handling the event. Okay. So this way is also there, but mostly I don't want to mix up my JavaScript and HTML. So I'll follow this way as of now. Okay. So guys, I really hope that it's cleared. Just like that, you can put any event. You can create a hover event, whatever you want. Now, guys, this was the base idea of event handling. Now, don't worry, we'll talk more about events. Don't worry about that. But let's move ahead and let's talk about how to manipulate an element. Now, see, guys, when I talk about manipulating an element, we have to understand what are the things you can manipulate. When you talk about DOM manipulation, there are only three things you can manipulate. Either you can manipulate the content inside the element. It means I have some content inside this box and I want to manipulate that. Secondly, you might want to manipulate CSS of the element. That means its height, weight, color, margin, whatever you say. And sometimes you want to manipulate the attribute of the element. These are the only three things you want to manipulate, because by these three things only, the element gets created. So that's why these are the only things you're able to manipulate. Either you're planning to manipulate the content. That means if you have some content inside it, or you're planning to manipulate the CSS. That means either you want to change the color of this, or you want to move it here and there. That can be done via CSS. Or you want to manipulate an attribute, like you want to change images height, images source. That's all. Those are all the things you want to plan to manipulate. Is that clear, everyone, guys? Like for example, if I again go to Flipkart, when you click on this, you're simply manipulating the margin of CSS. You're simply manipulating the margin of CSS, nothing else. You're simply moving margin left, margin left, margin left. When you click on the login button, you're again manipulating CSS. This element was hidden. Now you're again, showing it. So guys, are you understanding the point here? When you're planning to manipulate, either you're manipulating the content, or you're manipulating the CSS, or you're manipulating the attribute. Now, when I say manipulating, guys, one more thing. Manipulating means either adding, removing, or updating something. That means either you're adding a new element, removing an element, or updating an element. Or you're adding a new CSS property, removing already existing CSS property, or changing a CSS property. Either you're adding attribute, removing attribute, or changing the value of the attribute. That means it's either one of these. So you're either going to add, remove, or update. And also you're only going to do these three things. Either you're going to add content, add css, add attribute. Either going to remove content, remove css, remove attribute, or you're going to update content, update css, or update attribute. That's it. That's the whole DOM manipulation in one line. What is the best place to place your script line of code? Always at the bottom. Guys, see, from the start, I am always putting my script in the body, and I would always suggest that. Always put your script below your HTML. Inside your body, but below all your HTML. That is the best place of putting script. You might also see some people putting script in the head, but I would not suggest that. Okay, always put your script after your HTML. Inside the body, but after all your HTML tags. That is the best place to put your script. Okay. So guys, understood what DOM manipulation is, everyone? Okay. And for both of them, either you want to do event handling or DOM manipulation, the mandatory point is you should know how to select a element, whether you want to perform DOM manipulation, whether you want to perform event handling. So now guys, let me show you everything. Let me show you how to change content inside an element. Let me show you how to manipulate CSS of an element. And let me also show you how to change attribute of the element. Ready guys, everyone? Please tell me. Because after this only, we'll start creating our assignment that I wanted to show you, right? How to make something like this. When we click on some button, a pop-up appears. And when I click on close, it goes away. So how to do this? That's what I want to show you. Okay? But before that, we need to learn all these things. So let's go, guys. So now, guys, we have a button. Right now, I'm printing hello based on that. But I don't want to do that. What I want is, when I click on this button, I want to add some content in this div. I want to do that. Okay. So when I click on the button, I want to work on the div. So guys, again, tell me, I want to work on the div. What is the first rule? I want to do something with the div. What is the first rule of DOM manipulation? Whatever you want to do. So I am planning to put some content in this red division. What is the first rule? Select that division first. First of all, go ahead and select that, target that, so that you can work with it. No matter what you want to do. You want to add content, you want to remove content, you want to manipulate CSS, change attribute. First, select that. That is the first rule. So let's go. Now, event is properly working. Based on this click, this function gets called. So I will do the logic of working with the div inside this function, because that's when only when I click on the button, something will happen here. So let's go, everyone. Document dot get element by ID. Now I have given an ID of 1 to that div. So the ID is 1. Now that means first thing I'm doing is, as soon as someone clicks on the button, I have applied the event listener lines. As soon as someone clicks on the button, this button, call the function print message. Now I'm not going to call it print message, so let's call it as add content. I want to call this function. As soon as someone clicks on this button, I'm calling this add content function. And inside this add content function, I have a code of selecting this div and then putting content in it. So guys, I have already selected the div. I want to put content. So guys, to put content, no matter if you want to put textual content or HTML content, there is only one property which you can use, that is called as inner HTML. Dot inner HTML equals to whatever you want now. You want to put a text like hello world. Okay, completely fine. Let me show you. If I click, now see guys, again, focus. As soon as I click, this function will be called. As soon as this function is called, my div element will be selected, and inside that, inner HTML means inside that element, I'm trying to put some HTML. And as of now, the HTML is a simple plain text. Let me show you. If I click, here we go. See that, everyone? We dynamically put content in my div without changing anything in the HTML code. In the HTML code, it's still empty. But using JavaScript, you did it on the spot. And see, guys, it happened while running. You didn't have to refresh your page. That's what is the power of JavaScript. And not only, guys, not only textual content. If you want, you can also put HTML content like this. H1, hello world, H1. See now, what will happen is, I click, here we go. An H1 is inserted inside that. You can see, right? It's a little bigger. And if you inspect it, you can see it's actually an H1. See that? It's actually an H1. Okay. So this element is getting added inside this element by using JavaScript. Can I get content for inner HTML from an external text file? Yes, why not? You can read that file and then you can put that content. Why not? So you just have to learn how to read files using JavaScript. So you can get it from some other file and put it in your HTML element. That's possible. Yes, text content is also there. Yes, yes, yes. But I think text content is an attribute. So it mostly works for only few elements. Inner HTML works with all the container elements. That's why, Surya, I would always suggest you to use inner HTML. Is that clear? Because I think text content is attribute only of I think H1 element or some of the elements, not for all the elements. So for any kind of element globally, you can use only one thing, that is inner HTML. Whether it's textual content, whether it's any container, or whether it's HTML content, you can always go with inner HTML. Okay. Before inner HTML, there was also inner text, but now I don't suggest to use that because inner HTML does everything. So no need to learn extra stuff here. So guys, I hope you understood how to put content inside an element. Okay. Now guys, this is not only used to put content. This can also be used to see the content present inside the element. For example, let's say I'm commenting this line. This line was for putting content. Yes, don't worry, Venkat. In some time, I'll also work with image as well. Don't worry, buddy. Don't worry. Now, let's say my div is already having some content. Let's say it's already having a p element with let's say it's having an ul inside that we have li, like let's say Thor, Iron Man, and let's say what do you call it, Hulk, something like that. Okay, this dot is basically how you work with objects. This thing gives you that object, that DOM object. And if you want to call off any of its property, you have to use dot. So dot property. Okay. So object dot property. Now we didn't have that much time to learn about objects in this 3-day session, but definitely when we in future, when we are working with more advanced concepts, then I'll tell you about all the other objects as well. So this basically is an object. This gives you that object, that div element dot. I want to access it in HTML property. So whenever you want to access any property of any object, you have to use that dot operator. Okay. Okay. Let me also add black widow. Okay. Definitely, I'll add. Let's say Scarlet Witch. Okay. Hopefully that's fine. Let's go, guys. Now you can see now. It took 45 minutes to mention Thor. Okay, basically a little delayed, right? First time I delayed mentioning Thor in my assignments, right? Okay, fine. Now guys, see, you already have some content in your div. Now by using JavaScript, I want to fetch that content. I want to see that content. Now I have already shown you how to put something new in that div. What if there is already something in that div and I just want to fetch it and see it? So how to do that, guys? Very simple. I want to show it on the console. So console.log. Just simply do document dot get element by id 1. That is the div. And just write dot inner HTML. That means just show me its inner HTML. That's all. That means, guys, if you write only this much, it means I'm trying to get whatever is inside that element. But if you just apply a equal to and something, that means you're trying to change whatever is in there. Okay. So now if you see on my console, I can see whatever was in that. I can see the inner HTML. Understood, guys? So if you just mention this much, you're trying to get content out of that div. And if you just go ahead and mention equal to something new, that means you're trying to change whatever content is inside that particular element. Understood, guys? That means it's the exact same thing. So either you get it, and if you want to change it, just apply equal to and do something. Understood, everyone, guys? I hope you're getting my point. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead, guys. Let's go now. Everyone, let's go. Let me also show you how to manipulate CSS. And again, guys, it's fairly easy. So let's say when I click on this button, I want to increase the width of this element. Let's say when I click on this button, I want to increase the width. Now, width is a CSS property. You can see width is a CSS property. So how to do that? Very simple. Again, guys, if you want to manipulate CSS, first thing again, base logic, select the element. So guys, I want to increase the width of this red element. So fetch the red element. Same thing, document dot get element by ID 1. So you got the element. Now you're not planning to put a new content. That's why no inner HTML. You're not planning to see content. That's why no inner HTML. You're planning to change its CSS. So that's why dot style property. Dot style. Then dot whatever CSS you want to update. So let's say I want to update its width. So width equals to whatever you want to change it to. So let's say 500 pixel, and that's it, guys. Now, as someone clicks on this button, this function will be called. As soon as this function is called, I'll select that element, and I want to work on its style. That means CSS, and I want to change its width to whatever it is to 500 pixel. So if I save it and let's click, and here we go. Guys, we manipulated the CSS now. And guys, you can manipulate any property, up to you. At the same time, you can also manipulate its height. So let's say height. I want the height to become 700 pixels. Now see, here we go. Quite big, right? I know, quite big. Let me just make it, yeah. But I think it will look very small. So let me just make it, 500 pixels. Height and width both are increasing. You can also change its color. Any property that you want, guys. Any property that you want. So style dot background color. Here we go. Background color. I can go here and we can make it, let's say, light blue, something like that. Here we go now. That means now when I click on this button, its width will become 500, its height will become 500, and background color will be light blue. No. Just human being. This is not inline JavaScript. Inline JavaScript means when I go in my element and directly apply some event and start writing JavaScript here. That's inline JavaScript. What we are doing right now is internal JavaScript. That means my JavaScript code is in a separate script, but yes, it's sharing the same page as HTML. So this is internal JavaScript, not inline JavaScript. Okay, I would not also suggest you to write inline JavaScript. So now, guys, I'm changing 3 CSS properties. Now let's see if it is working. Here we go. Oh, color didn't change. What happened? Oh, I forgot. I made a mistake, guys. Light blue. I forgot the T. Now here we go. See, I can create some more buttons. I can create more functions. I can do whatever I want now. I can create 10 buttons, and on those 10 buttons, I can do 10 different things. By some button, I might change its color. By some button, I might change its size, whatever I want, guys. And not only button, I can click on whatever I want. It's up to me, guys. I can click on whatever I want. Are you getting my point, guys? Everyone, please tell me, are you getting this basic idea about DOM manipulation or not? Please, can you confirm that, everyone? And are you finding it interesting as well? That's also very important. Are you enjoying it? Okay, now let me also show you how to deal with some images. Okay, so let's go ahead, guys, and let's create an image. And guys, I'm not going to download any new image. So what I'm going to do is I'm directly going to use an online image. I hope that will be fine, right? I hope that will be fine. So let's create an image. Okay. And can you say what? To replace the content in it. I showed you already, right? You can use this inner HTML and put whatever content you want. So that will be replaced. Okay. So you can use this inner HTML and put a new content. Whatever content you want, you can do that. Okay. So now, guys, let's, as I said, I'm not gonna download any image. So I'm simply gonna go online and download some image. So let's simply go and go to a site like pexels.com and let's download an image like yeah, this one is fine. Let's take this one. Not download, sorry, I want to just take a link, not download. So guys, what you have to do is, if you don't want to download, just do this. Right click on the image and say copy image address. Select copy image address. That's all. And paste that address in the SRC. Now you don't have to download the image. Save it, and here we go. You can see that. But it's quite big. It's quite big, so let's make it a little smaller. So let's give it a width of, 300 pixels. That's it. Or maybe a little less. Let's say 200 pixels, because I've already zoomed the page. There we go, guys. I have a very simple image here. Okay. Now let me just put a BR tag here so that the image comes down and not with the click button. So here we go. It's the image. Now, guys, what I want to learn is, see, guys, please focus. Let's see if we can get this, because once you get this, then we'll directly move on to the project that we have decided. Okay, guys, everyone, please focus here. Guys, please focus. What I want to do is, I want to click on this image only. So, guys, I want to click on the image. That means I'm planning to add an event on this image. Everyone, yes or no? So let's give an ID to the image. ID of image. And let's apply an event on that now. For that, guys, again, document dot get element by ID. And you can see, guys, I'm writing the event logic directly in my script, because I want it to happen directly when the page runs for the first time. Yeah, that's fine. In HTML, the sequence of attributes doesn't matter. You can give ID afterwards, width afterward. It doesn't matter, Venkat. The sequence of attributes in a tag doesn't matter. It's just attribute should be after tag. But after that, whatever is the sequence doesn't matter. I can put ID there, width here, SRC there, doesn't matter. So guys, now I want to create a click event on the image. I want to create a click event on the image. So for that, first I will select the image. So ID is image. And then I want to add an event to it, a click event. So add event listener, and event will be click. Okay. And now I want to add some functionality. So first I decided, okay, fine. I want to add a click event on this image. Nice. I added click event. But now, what do you want to do when the user clicks? So for that, guys, let's create a function, the event listener. A function, and my function is change image. Change image. This is going to be my event listener. Let's call this here change image. And first of all, guys, let's test it if it is working or not. So guys, I always do this. Whenever I'm creating functions, I just put a simple console.log like this, hello image. And I first test if my event is working, because there is no point writing all the code and then finding out that it's not working. So keep testing things. So first of all, guys, I'm simply testing if my click event on the image is working or not. So if it is working, hello image should be printed on the console. So let's see. Let's open the console. And if I click on the image, yep, here we go. That means the click event is working, guys. But now that is not what I want to do. I want to change this image only. So guys, that means I want to click on the image, and I also want to change the image. That means I want to click on the image and I want to manipulate the image. Here what I did, I'm clicking on the button. I am clicking on the button, but I'm manipulating this red element. That means clicking somewhere else, manipulating something else. But now I'm clicking on the image and I want to manipulate the image only. And that's fine. Not bad. Why not? So guys, now I want to change this image. Now guys, you tell me, how, based on what this image tag is loading this particular image? Based on SRC, right, everyone? Based on the SRC, yes or no, guys? Based on SRC only, this image tag is loading this image. So if by some logic I'm able to change the SRC, I will be able to change the image. Yes or no? And SRC is an attribute, guys. So let's see how to change the attribute. So again, very simple. The first thing is fetch the element that you want to work on. So I want to change the SRC of this image. So first I have to fetch this element. So let's go. Document dot get element by ID image. Now guys, if you ever want to change any attribute of any element, just select that element and then dot. You can easily call any of its attribute like src or weight, whatever you want. Okay, but I would suggest you to use a function whenever you want to change the attribute. Use a function called as set attribute. In that set attribute, pass which attribute are you planning on to manipulate. Guys, which attribute do we want to manipulate, everyone? No, 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 not style, guys. No, style is for CSS only. SRC is not CSS. SRC is an attribute of image tag. It's not CSS. This ID, this width, this SRC, they are all attributes. CSS is what you apply from here, from the style area. So I have not applied any CSS to this image. I want to manipulate this SRC attribute. So for that, guys, use set attribute, and in that, pass whatever attribute you want to change. So I want to change SRC attribute, and comma, whatever new value you're planning. So by default, SRC is having this value. But now I want SRC to have a new value, and that new value will be passed here. So set attribute, whatever attribute you are planning to do, that attribute, and then whatever new value you're planning. So let's get some other image here. Let's take this image. So right click, copy image address, and this will be the new value. So on click of image, call this function. This function will select that element that you want to work with, which is again the image element, and it will change its attribute src with this new value. So whatever was the old value, that will be removed, and this new value will be added. And let's see, guys, if it is working. Give it. Now let's click on this image. Click. And here we go. Is that cleared, guys, everyone? Please tell me. Have we understood how to do this? Please confirm, guys. If you have understood it, now we are ready to create our assignment, which was this. When I click on a button, a pop-up appears like this. And when I click on close, it goes away. This is what the project that we're going to create in the next 10-15 minutes. Okay? No, 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 incredible for you. Style.src will not work. No. Because src is an attribute. It doesn't come under style. Style itself is an attribute. Style and src are two different attributes. Size of the new image will take the original value. Yeah, whatever is the image, it depends on the image. But if you want, you can also change the width, right? Why not? And for changing the width of the image, there are two ways, Venkat. Sir, will the new image take width and height of the old image size? Yes, see, it is also taking the width, whatever I've given, 200. Height is different. Both images have different height. That's why they take different height. But you can see width never changes because I gave a fixed width of 200 pixel. That's why the width will never change. Only the height will change because that is the default height of the image. But if you want, you can also change height and width using CSS. Sorry, either using CSS or using JavaScript. Up to you, whatever way you want to choose. Okay. So now, guys, let's move ahead, guys. Let's move ahead, everyone. Let's move ahead. And let me comment all this stuff. And guys, are you ready to see how to create that pop-up box using JavaScript? So pop-up project. First of all, for that, I need a button. But before button, I need something else. Now see, guys, please focus on how these things happen. Okay. So guys, let's go. First of all, I'm going to add a few elements. So let's keep these elements intact. I don't have to worry about them. On top here, I'm going to create a div. And I'm going to call it as overlay. See, guys, when you click on this, you see, right, a black shade happens, everyone. Can you see that? A blackish transparent background comes up. Can you see that, everyone? So I also want that transparent blackish background. So now let's go. So first of all, I'm creating a div. I'm giving it a class of overlay. Let's go. I want this overlay div to have exact same width as my screen and exact same height as my screen. So for that, dot overlay, I'm going to give it a width of 100%. That means exactly same as body. So it will take the exact same width. And I also want to give it the exact same height as my screen from here till here. So guys, if you ever want to give anyone height of exactly as your screen, you have to use 100 VH, which is 100 viewport height. So exactly same as your screen size. And then let's give it a background color of black. You can see there is some gaps around here. I don't want those gaps. That's coming because it is having some extra margin. So what I can do is, initially in the CSS, I can write star. That means for every element, by default, keep the margin as 0 pixel and please keep the padding as 0 pixel as well. So both of them will be 0. So it will end to end. Star means, guys, universal selector. For each and every element, margin and padding will be 0. Now you can see this is taking full width. But guys, now notice all the other elements are below it because in the sequence they are correct, right? First you have your overlay, which is having full width and full height, correct? And then below that you have your div, you have your button, you have your image, and that's why everything is below that. Is that clear, everyone? But what I want is I want these things to be behind that black element. I want these things to be behind. So for that, guys, you have to use a CSS property called as position and give it a position of absolute. So now what will happen is all those things will go behind it. Now they are behind it. That's why there is no scroll bar. They have adjusted behind it. But I can't see it now because this is completely black. Let's make it transparent. So for that, guys, rather than giving it black, give it a color using RGBA, which stands for red, green, blue, and alpha. Alpha means transparency. So if you make red value as 0, green value as 0, blue value as 0, that means black. If red and green and blue are 0, that means black. You will see it is still black. Okay, first of all, let me give this alpha as 1. You will see it's still black. 1 means completely visible. 0 means completely transparent. That's why you can see there is no black. But I don't want completely visible or completely transparent. I want a little bit transparent. So for that, give it 0.5 transparency. You can see now. Is that clear, everyone? How we created a transparent div on top of everything. Confirm that, guys. Everyone, please confirm. Are we cleared? Guys, are we cleared with this? Okay, now that is the time to create a box in here. So now inside this overlay, I'm going to create a box. Now, guys, see, I'm not styling it that much. I'm not trying to make it look a lot better. Personally, I like to always make things look better. But here I can't do that because we don't have that much time. We are already up on time, but we'll complete this project. But you can sit and write some more CSS to make it look much more cooler. Normally, I love to make things look cooler, but right now can't do that. So let's give it a class of, box, something like that. Let's give it some CSS as well. Dot box. Give it a width of 50%. Give it a height of, let's say 40 VH. And give it a background color of white. Sorry, white. And here we go. You can see a white box. Let's give it a little more height. So 60 VH. Okay. Now let's move it in center. Now see, guys, there are a lot of ways to move it in center. Really, really cool ways to move it in center. But right now I'm going with a very basic way of using margin top and margin left. So margin top of 20 VH. It will move it in center vertically. And to move it in center horizontally, margin left of 25%. Here we go. Now, guys, this is not the best possible way of moving elements in center. We also have grids. We also have flex boxes by which you can move this in center. But right now, I just following a very traditional way of doing margin top, margin left. That's all. Now, guys, inside this, I'm going to create a close button. Now, see, on Flipkart, you have a close icon like this. But guys, again, it's up to you. You can create a close icon, a close image, or a close button. Up to you, guys. In this case, I'm simply creating a close button because I don't want to waste a lot of time. So, Yes, just human being. If you want to use justify content center, you need flexboxing, right? So simple close button, guys. That's all. Okay, a very simple close button. Now, guys, up to you. Whatever content you want to put here, put here. Input field, buttons, text like Flipkart, whatever you want, guys. Up to you. You can put a content like this in here. I'm gonna keep it plain and simple. I just want to click on this close button and make it go away. Okay. So let's go, guys. Now we are done with the setup. Let's go, everyone. Now, first thing is, right now, when I load my page for the first time, it's visible. On Flipkart, when you load your page, that box is not visible. That is only visible when you click on login. Just like that, I don't want this to be visible initially. I don't want it to be visible initially. So for that, guys, I'm going to go to this overlay because that overlay is my big parent. And inside that, we have this. I'm going to give it a display of none. A CSS property, which is display of none. So now that will be gone. Now you have all your other elements. Cool. Display none will remove that. Now that is removed from your tree. Now I'm going to create a button here on top. It's like our login button. So let's call it login. Guys, again, you can call it whatever you want. Let's give it an ID of login. Now, when I click on this button, that is when I want that to appear. So first, let's write the event logic for that button. So login is the ID given to it. Let's go. Document dot get element by ID login. When I click on login, so I'm going to add an event. Add event listener. When I click on login, I want to perform something. Now, first of all, time to check. So let's create a function first. Function, let's call it show popup. And right now, guys, just for testing, let's do a simple console.log. Okay. And one more thing, guys, I can see that almost 70 people are watching and likes are very less. So guys, please, if you're enjoying this video, please don't forget to like the video, everyone, because that is something that motivates me to be energetic and teach you all this stuff and come up with all these new things. So please, guys, don't forget to like the video. Everyone, if you're enjoying it, please don't forget to like and show me some love. Okay. So let's just do simple console.log like pop-up working, something like that. Okay. Let's see if at least our function or if our event is working. So let's check that out. Oh, what's some issue? No issues. Let's call this function. I forgot to call it, right? That's what the error is. Let's go. Nice. Let's click on this login and you can see, right? Pop-up is working, is coming here. That means the event is working. Now, the only thing that I need to do is make that overlay appear. So now, guys, we know how to do that, right? Everyone, we know how to manipulate CSS, right? Now, see, this overlay element is hidden because it has a CSS property called as display none. So if I go ahead and manipulate this CSS property of this overlay element, it will again be visible. So we just need to manipulate the CSS in this case. So let's give it ID of popup and let's go. Let's fetch that. Document dot get element by ID popup. Now, guys, you want to manipulate CSS. Again, the rule. Whenever you want to manipulate CSS, first fetch the element, then simply dot style dot any CSS property. In this case, I want to manipulate the display property because of the display property only, it's hidden. So if I manipulate this none, remove this none and add block, it will be again visible. So we just have to go here and put display equals block. Block means whatever was the initial display, the block display. And here we go, guys. Let's click on login and here we go. 1, 2, 3. See that? And now I just want to remove it again based on this close button. So let's write one more thing. Yes, Sudeep, we can do that toggle, but I think a lot of people are completely new here. That's why I'm just following the base idea. There are various ways, guys. You can slide it down, move it up. You can toggle the class list. There are various ways of doing it. Okay. But for now, let's create a show function. Sir, can we get, yes. You have a function called as get elements by class name. But there's a difference between get element by class name and get element by ID. That is, if you do it get element by ID, you will directly target the element. But if you do get element by class name, you will be getting an array. And your element will be inside an array. And you have to target your element by going in that array. So that becomes a little more complicated. That's why following ID is a better approach in this case. And as a beginner, at least you can follow ID. After that, you can learn about get elements by class name, get elements by tag name, and all that stuff. So now, guys, I'll create one more function called as hide popup. Okay, and I'll just do the opposite there. Hiding will just require what? Again, making it none. And I want to call this hide popup on this button, close button. Now again, guys, you have to add an event on this close button. So let's go. First of all, give it an ID of close, and now let's add the event. Document dot get element by ID close dot add event listener. If someone clicks on close, you need to call hide popup function, and that should be it. So if someone clicks on login button, show popup will show the popup. If someone click on close button, hide popup will hide the popup. And now let's see. Refresh. Here we go. Login, it appears. Close, it goes away. Login, it appears. Close, it goes away. Just like this. Exactly like this. By just learning some basic JavaScript, you are able to create something really cool. So is that clear, everyone? Understood how to perform this basic DOM manipulation? So guys, today you can say that you have already learned 10% of DOM manipulation, because now you know how to work with events. Now you know how to select element, change their CSS, change their attribute, and also change their content. If you build on this and learn class name, query selector, you'll be easily completing 50% of DOM manipulation. And guys, now you know enough that you can also start creating small projects. Without learning anything new, you can also start creating small projects based on this. Trust me. It's just a matter of practice and learning few more things. Okay. So guys, this is what we have. This is what we have learned today. Basic DOM manipulation. And we are already above time. So I really hope that you guys understood what exactly is JavaScript, why it was created and what it does. And I really hope that you understood everything about today's session, guys. So please don't forget to like the session, everyone. And if you have not registered, please register for the course and mark attendance for last 3 days. And also, guys, your assignment for today will be creating this exact project, this pop-up project. And yes, Surya, don't forget to subscribe the channel and also go on LetsUpgrade.in and sign up there, because then you will be easily informed. Whenever my session is going to be coming, you'll be easily informed there. Okay? On YouTube. So just go ahead and subscribe to the channel, so that whenever my sessions comes up, there will be my photo on the thumbnail. You can easily see. And we have also amazing other trainers who teach on this channel, so you can also follow them as well. Okay. So as of now, I think next week, as of now, I don't know if I have any lecture or not, but hopefully if there is any lecture coming up from my side, it will be available on YouTube. Okay, so guys, that's it for today. I really hope that you guys enjoyed the whole session. And listen to me carefully, guys. Your assignment is creating the exact same pop-up project and submit on the link. And guys, you can go on LetsUpgrade.in and check more of our courses. There's an upcoming B.Tech CSE course coming, which you can also refer to your friends and earn around 80,000. Okay, if you refer it to your friends who want to do engineering. And we also have Java and DSA course coming up. The link is in the chat. You can go ahead and check that out as well. And you can also check out our full stack web development course, which will be taught by me. If you join, like, again, it's up to you. If you're interested, you can join. So go ahead and LetsUpgrade.in and check out our courses, guys. And to mark attendance, to register for the course, all the links are mentioned in the description very simply. Okay, guys. So please go ahead and check it. And I really, really hope that you guys enjoyed all the sessions. Okay, you're following me on LinkedIn. That's great, guys. And again, guys, yeah, if you want to connect to me on LinkedIn, just go on LinkedIn, search my name, the exact same photo that there is on thumbnail, it will also come there. You can connect with me there, ask questions related to course or any other thing there as well. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much. Enjoy your rest of the day. I'll be seeing you in the next essentials on YouTube or in other sessions wherever you'll be there if I'm teaching. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know in the comments, in the chat, and guys, also comment it after the session if you get time. Please also comment on the video so that this video reaches to more people, and we can teach more people. Okay. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. See you in the next essentials. Bye bye, guys. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Bye bye. And please don't forget to create that as your assignment and submit it. Bye bye, guys. Bye bye. Good night, everyone. Good night. Take care. Good night.